Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Mindful Heart. Those of you who are members and you're here, we're so happy to have you. And those of you who are new and just trying it out, we're so happy to have you here, mashallah. You know, I changed the topic for today because I saw that there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of panic. And instead of doing my usual Mindful Heart material, I decided to address this, the pandemic that we're having, the coronavirus. And so I'm so glad that, we took this opportunity to address it, because I know that many of you are, you're spread out all over the world. It's a global community, mashallah. And we have the sisters in the UK, across the US. We have them in the Middle East and in Australia. And I know that all of you are facing it at a very different level. And so inshallah, that this will be very beneficial. I pray that Allah opens up our hearts and our minds and helps us in coping with this. Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Anxiety, fear, and panic. People are panic buying, people are living in fear, and people are isolating themselves. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the psychology of fear, whether it's irrational or irrational thoughts that you're having, and how to modify your behavior and manage your stress and your anxiety and have mental well-being. Okay, inshallah. So there have been, salam alaikum. Let me mention all the beautiful sisters we have here. We have salam alaikum, Sister Romana and Sister Abir. We have our usual members, mashallah, Sister Hanar and Sister Lubna. Wonderful to have you here, mashallah. So we have had two extremes in the way that people are dealing with the coronavirus, as you know. There is panic, fear, isolation. There's panic buying. People are going into the Costco. People are, there is a line around Costco, and there was an actual fight between three women fighting over what? Toilet paper, right? So it's just this very out of control behavior where there is this anxiety, right? And this is going to affect the mental health of millions of people, because if we continue with this level of panic, this level of stress, it is going to have a damaging effect, not only physically, but also emotionally and psychologically. So one group of people, they are treating it with extreme anxiety and panic. And then there's another group that is just completely dismissive. They feel like they're not taking any action. They feel it's absolutely no big deal. So what we need to do is we need to have a more balanced approach in how we're going to deal with this, okay, dealing with the corona, okay? I still have this The tears are coming. I'm not crying. It's just the tear duct. All right. So there is a real threat, right? Because it is an epidemic, because it is a pandemic. So what makes it so threatening is that the corona, it can hibernate in your body for over 2 weeks without any symptoms. So you're going out, you're interacting with people, you're going to work, you're dealing with your family and friends, and you have no symptoms. And because you have no symptoms, you're not doing anything to protect yourself or others. So that's what makes it pretty dangerous. And it can spread either directly or indirectly, because what happens is that the virus lingers on objects for 2 to 3 days. So if someone uses your phone, the keyboard, or maybe the ATM machine, whatever, the doorknobs, and it sits there and lingers. And even if someone sneezes, and that will linger in the air. So that's what makes it is being spread unknowingly, and that's why it's being passed so quickly. And people who have compromised immunity, so if someone has like asthma, if they have some kind of respiratory problem, and if they're elderly, they're much more prone to getting it in a more severe way. So we need to take precautions. We need to feel that this is something that we need to be cautious about. We need to do the hand washing. They're saying 20 seconds, don't touch your face. We had there was this interesting video that was going around. It was a public health message. And she was saying how important it is. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face, whatever you do, because this is how the virus is going to be spread. And she went on to lick her finger to turn the page. So we have to be careful about these. We have to walk the talk. We have to take precautions. We got to make sure that we are doing our best to protect ourselves. And we need to protect our elderly family members if they're more prone to getting the illness. So we're going to take precautions, but we do need to avoid unnecessary panic. Okay. People are really losing control. There is this impulse to go out and to stock up. There's no need to stock up on goods, definitely not on toilet paper. I don't know what the deal is with stocking up with toilet paper and people fighting over it, right? And most healthy individuals, what's going to be, if they do get the coronavirus, it is going to be like the flu-like symptoms. They will, inshallah, recover from it within a week. So as long as you are taking your precautions, you are a healthy individual, then it's going to be fine. And that's where we have to kind of gain perspective. We have to definitely gain perspective, and we have to follow the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, their guidelines, okay? When you're looking through Facebook, if you are reading all of this, the media sometimes tends to hype things up and creates this fear, right? It's like a form of fear mongering. Now, we need to have reports. Absolutely. It's great to know what is happening, where it's happening. We do need to be informed, but we need to make sure that it is coming from an accurate source, that we are getting the information. So the Center for Disease Control, CDC, that is an excellent way to get our information, right? So I'm having Sister Abir saying in Saudis, all schools are closed, and in Kuwait, even malls are closed. Most all international flights have been stopped. I know, and this is affecting so many people. I know that all flights from Europe have been completely canceled. My son was scheduled to go on a senior trip, which he was so excited about. They were going to go to Umrah and then go to Turkey. That was canceled. They're questioning whether they should even have graduation. I know that many universities have shut down, and many of sporting events. So it is having an impact. And it's good to take those precautions, because like I said, if someone is infected, we don't even know, right? Because they may not even have the symptoms. So some of the precautions are good. And I know that sometimes it is affecting all of us in one way or another. Sister Hanar is saying that the media did hype the things up, and it's very serious in Denmark, but I don't know why people buy so much toilet paper. That's the big question, right? Why are people stocking up on so much toilet paper? So we need to realize that the risk for getting the virus, okay? So the average person, like I said, if they have healthy immune and they don't have any other health issues, they should be fine. That it is considered low risk, right? Now, what is causing the high risk? Okay, high risk is healthcare workers caring for patients with the coronavirus. So if someone is in the health profession and they're dealing with individuals who have the coronavirus, definitely they're high risk. Now, if you are in close contact with a person who has the coronavirus, maybe a family member, maybe someone at work who has it, then you're at high risk. Travelers returning from affected international locations where the community spread. Now, if that is occurring, if you have just come back from China, if you have just come back from wherever, from Italy, and then you are more likely to be at risk, okay? Let's talk a little bit about the psychology of fear, okay? Fear is a very powerful and primitive human emotion, okay? Now, it alerts us if there's danger. If you are at home alone and you hear a door opening, you're alerted. There's danger. If someone is following you in a dark alley, there's that feeling of, it's important to have that sense of fear, because it will protect you. It will make you take action. And it is a survival mechanism. Let's say you have to outrun someone when you're in danger. And so it does help you to survive. And you can see that fear can be divided into kind of two responses. So you have the biochemical response, and then you have the emotional response. Okay. Now, the biochemical response, what's happening in your body, that's universal. Everyone experiences the same thing, but the emotional response, it's very individualized, okay? So what's happening in our body when we experience this kind of fear? When you sense that, oh my gosh, something is about to happen or someone is about to attack me, what happens is that we have the automatic response, which is the fight or flight response, right? And this is really crucial for our survival. What happens is that the heart rate increases, we start sweating, there's the high adrenaline. Now, the emotional response is very personalized, right? So you see that the fear response, okay, even the biochemical response is very close. The chemical reaction in our brains is very close to some of the positive emotions, right? So excitement and fear are very similar. And that's why it's important to recognize that, because and this is what we're going to talk about, is that you can take that feeling of fear. Let's take something very simple like public speaking. A lot of people have that fear of public speaking. And if you look at what's happening biochemically, we are sweating, heart is pounding, maybe you have this feeling in the pit of your stomach. All of that is happening. Now, it's the same thing with the fear and excitement. So you can start looking at it. So it all has to do with your interpretation of the event, how you're feeling about the situation. So if you recognize this, the public speaking, as, oh my God, I'm so afraid. Oh my God. And you go into panic mode and you have negative self-talk and you start thinking you're going to mess up and I'm going to fall and I'm going to forget and all of that. What's going to happen is that you talk yourself into a frenzy and you have anxiety and you have a panic attack, and that's real fear. But if you start interpreting it differently, where you say, okay, I have these emotions. I'm very cognizant of the fact that my heart is pounding, stomach is, going crazy. But you know what? I'm going to interpret this as I'm excited. Okay. And I'm going to feel excited about this opportunity. And that way, because of your interpretation of the event, you manage your anxiety, you manage your stress level. Now, you're going to say, how am I going to get excited about the coronavirus? I'm not telling you to get excited about the coronavirus. Okay. That was just an example that I'm giving, how, the biochemical reaction in your body is the same, and you can flip it, and you choose to flip it. It's like some people, they're so afraid of heights, and yet some people like to jump out of the plane, right? And they wanted to go skydiving because they're kind of, they're adrenaline junkies, and they look at that as like, woo, I love this feeling of fear, right? So this is a very important aspect of dealing with fear, because it's not just the chemical reactions in your body. There is an emotional component, there is a cognitive component, and that's very critical. And that's where we can gain control and we can manage our stress. Not telling you to get excited about the coronavirus. I'm telling you that you can interpret it differently and you can manage it and not feel so helpless and hopeless. Because when we go into that mindset of feeling hopeless, when we feel like, oh my God, I'm doomed, this is the end of the world, we're all gonna die, and you go into the state of panic, it's not doing you any good. And when you're in that state of the fight or flight, that is an automatic reaction in your body in order to help you and to save you, okay? And it's meant to last anywhere from like 15 minutes to 30 minutes, let's say an hour, okay? It's not meant to go on for 24/7. You're not meant to wake up with that state of anxiety and sleep with that state of anxiety. And that's what a lot of people are facing. A lot of my clients who come to me are living in a state of panic and anxiety, even though nothing is going on around them, even though they're not in a state of danger, and even though everything is going well in their life. So put aside this pandemic, you find that there are people who are living their daily lives with absolutely no danger, and yet they're in the state of panic. So those of you who are already prone to having anxiety, those of you who have the challenges with depression and anxiety, that is like, it is affecting you the most, because you're taking all of this in and you're already susceptible for the anxiety and panic, when there's actually, anxiety disorder is like you don't have, it's not a specific, it's not something specific that you can pinpoint and say, okay, I'm anxious necessarily about this. Sometimes it's just ambiguous, it's vague. And I had this client just yesterday telling me that, everything is great in my life. I have, everyone is like envious of my life, of how, whether it's her success or how she looks or how she's so capable, yet she has this constant feeling of anxiety. So when someone has that, imagine how much more prone they are to feeling this sense of dread and gloom and all of that when something like this occurs. And that's why I felt it's so critical to address it, because my heart goes out to everyone who is feeling the sense of this sense of stress and the sense of anxiety, because I know how real it is. And I know that anyone who has anxiety, it feels as if you're going to die, right? So that intense emotional reaction that you get, that intense biological reaction you get, it's almost like it mimics a heart attack, right? So that can be very scary. If someone is feeling like, oh my God, I'm about to have a heart attack, that's a very scary feeling. And we want to try to manage that. We want to try to put it into perspective. We want to learn how to be mentally healthy. We want to be physically healthy, and just take this in a very moderate, take a moderate approach, inshallah. Okay. Now, what's interesting about fear, right? So it is part instinctual, right? Some fear is instinctual. Actually, we are born with two innate fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. These are things that even babies have this fear. It's like they're hardwired for it, okay? Now, a lot of the other fears, what's interesting is that it's learned, right? It is learned. So maybe someone fell into the pool and almost drowned, so they have this phobia of water, or they fear drowning. There might be a fear of being in certain places. There may be a fear of certain items. Maybe, I had a friend of mine, her dog, or her son got bit by a dog. And so now there's this like phobia for dogs, because that is, that was the experience. So you can learn that fear, right? And then other fears, okay, so we have the layers. Other fears are actually are taught. So they're cultural norms, right? They're cultural norms. And this is where sometimes you have the prejudice. You have certain social groups that are feared or persecuted, and it all has to do with how the culture represents it, okay? So it's really important to understand the psychology of fear, how some things are innate. We said there are two innate fears that we are born with, and they were, right? They were loud noises and falling. And some fears, you learn them. Some are instinctual. Like, when you touch fire, you're going to instinctually pull your hand away because it's dangerous, right? And then others are because of a certain experience you've had. All right. Now, let's hear what so Sister Romana is saying that's a great idea to flip your fear into excitement. And what else that she's saying? Panic attacks are definitely a terrible feeling to have. May Allah protect us all. Ameen. Sister Abir is saying, thank you for acknowledging how real it is. I have general anxiety disorder, and most of the time people don't get it. I know that. It's really sad that most people don't get many of the mental health disorders, right? It's people may have not been exposed to it. They're not educated in it. And, we have a lot of family members who will actually tell a person who is diagnosed with clinical depression, get over it. Or just stop being so lazy, get up and, just get over it. And what I explain to a lot of, let's say, the parents of people who have depression, right? I will tell them it is kind of like being in quicksand, right? And telling a person in quicksand to say, why are you in that? Get out of it. They can't. They want to get out of it, but they simply can't. Someone actually has to come and pull them out of that quicksand. So it is really important for us to be empathetic, to be understanding, because there are some people in our community who are going to be overreacting to this because of their predisposition to these mental health disorders. And we can't criticize, we can't belittle, we can't, have this judgmental attitude towards them and say, oh, you don't have enough tawakkul, your iman is low. If you had more iman, then you would be fine. If you had more iman, you wouldn't be depressed. And this is, unfortunately, what I hear all the time from my clients who suffer from these kind of illnesses, whether it's obsessive compulsive disorder, whether it's depression or anxiety. It all originated from some well-meaning individual. Okay, they listened to a lecture, a speaker, an imam, or a sheikh. They said something, and they honed in on it. Right? If your wudu is not perfect, then if your wudu is not perfect, then your prayer is not going to count. So the person who is suffering from OCD and they already are so hard on themselves for their wudu, then they actually stop. They stop with the prayers. They stop with so many things because they hear something and they may take it out of context, or they're more sensitive to these issues, right? And I will tell them, please, go ahead, do your prayer, even if you feel like, even if the wudu is not as perfect, do it, right? So we have to be very sensitive with what we say to our family members, to our friends, to those who are really right now struggling because the anxiety is so real and they are overwhelmed. And so instead of telling someone something as insensitive as just, get over it, just build up your iman, like what's wrong with you? We need to show that empathy and that concern, right? So, Sister Abir is saying, I had chest pains and panic attack today, and I felt my arms start to hurt. I told myself, come, anxiety, do your thing and go. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad to be here. Oh, Alhamdulillah, Sister Abir, I'm so glad. That's so brave of you to share. And that's what I explain to a lot of my clients who are dealing with anxiety, that, there is the fear of the panic, like the fear of the fear, right? And what ends up happening is that when someone has a panic attack or an anxiety disorder, they actually spent like 15 to 20 hours worrying about something that may last 10 to 15 minutes, right? And so what I always tell them is that this fear, look at it as a wave. You have to ride the wave. So what's going to happen? It starts off low, it peaks where you're just like, oh my God, like you're saying, you feel like you're going to like have a heart attack. And then guess what? It's going to come down again. So ride it like a wave and let it subside, inshallah. And Allah says in the Quran, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. We have certainly created man into hardship, into turmoil, into this kind of stress, right? And we have stress in every area of our lives, and people experience it in so many different ways. Some people have the stress of work. Sometimes it's from studying in school. Sometimes it's family life. It has to do with relationships. Sometimes the marriage is the biggest source of stress, or you have like emotional trauma, like it might be things from the past, from childhood, and it could be medical illnesses. And now, right now, the main stress is this pandemic that is like, what's going to happen? How are we going to deal with this, this coronavirus? How is it going to affect me? How is it going to affect my children and my work? Some people have had to stop working. The bills are going to continue coming, but then the money stops. So there's a lot of stress we're dealing with, right? So how are we going to cope with all this? Okay. How are we going to cope with the stress? Now, this can be regarding the coronavirus. How are we dealing with it? And it could deal with, it could be with any form of stress in your life. So maybe you feel like, okay, I'm not affected by, the coronavirus. It's not in my country. We haven't had any cases, but you're dealing with stress. I'm sure you are, right? So whatever it is, whether it's financial, emotional, sometimes psychological stress, these are the ways to deal with it. So Sister Emmy is saying, someone gave me a good example. Like if you're alone at home and you think it's a thief, but that's not true, because you can calm yourself by saying it's a cat that makes the sound, right? It's how you interpret the situation, right? Obviously, you have to make sure that you're not in danger, right? You have to make sure that you're not in danger, and you have to evaluate the situation. So we don't want to be just like this, we don't want to be like this optimism that is like not in touch with reality. That's never what I promote. I promote optimism, but definitely have to take precaution, right? And we have Sister Abir says, I think that people should stop circulating these audio messages by doctors giving their 2 cents and saying random stuff that may scare us. We should only look at reliable sources. Yes, get information from reliable sources. And, you have to limit your exposure to the social media, because sometimes that can really put us in a state of panic, looking at it, reading about it. And just like anything, right? Whenever there is whether it's a war going on, sometimes I remember when with the Islamophobia, when, there were certain attacks that occur, and then suddenly a lot of my clients would be so fearful about leaving the house, because all they're hearing about is the fact that someone got attacked, and it's repeated over and over and over and over. And that's all you're focusing about. And guess what? You're going to be immobilized. So many people all of a sudden stop going to work, stop going to school, and they jeopardize everything because they're focusing on this one little, on this one perspective, right? On a very small percentage of the population. Now, obviously, this is affecting many people across the globe. I'm not trying to diminish from that. I'm not trying to say, but what I'm saying is that if we focus on something long enough, right? Let's say the number of accidents that occur, while people are traveling worldwide, it's so high. It is so high. And yet every day we sit in the car or we get on planes and we travel, and we don't really think about it, right? We take our precaution, we put on our seatbelts, we try to drive defensively. But if we're every day, let's say you open up your Facebook and all you do is you go through your YouTube videos and only look at accidents that were caused by driving, and that's all you look at, and you see the deaths, you see how people have lost body parts, you're going to be so immobilized. So we really have to limit what we're exposing ourselves to, and also put things into perspective where we're not honing in on just this one small percentage and then just becoming so fearful that we freeze, right? Because it's either fight, flight, or freeze. So we're either trying to run away from it, we're either fighting with it, or we're just frozen, right? And a lot of people do get immobilized by the fear. So one of the things that we're going to do in dealing with stress, okay, this is Sister Nadia saying, actually, there was a video of a Syrian father and daughter. The father made his daughter laugh when bombs were being dropped to help her cope. Oh, that's just so emotional and so admirable, and it makes me want to cry. That how the father is just trying to change her association to the bombs, and that's really beautiful that because it's how we deal with it, because something so scary, right, he was knowledgeable enough from a psychological perspective to take control of how he's getting his daughter to experience this. And even though it is dangerous, but he didn't want her to be so traumatized, subhanAllah. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And Sister Romana is sending lots of hugs and love to my dear sweet sister Abir. You know, this is what I love about the Mindful Heart community, is that everyone is so compassionate, and there's such a connection, and such, even though we're spread out across the globe, but there's such a beautiful sisterhood and such compassion, mashallah. So that's always lovely to hear. So coping with stress. Number one, you have to do some deep breathing, okay? Because the first thing that happens when you're stressed out, what happens to your breathing? It becomes very shallow. You know, when you're like very scared, if you're, whatever it is that is you're fearful of, it affects your breathing. So the first thing you have to do is do some deep breathing. And I found that very few people know how to do the deep breathing. It becomes very much like, I'm like, that's not deep breathing. So it's about taking a deep breath in through your nose, holding it, and then breathing out. Okay, so deep breath in, you hold it, and breathe out. So this deep breathing helps you in any stressful situation, okay? Let's say you're about to have this very intense conversation at work, okay, and you're worried about it, whether it's your boss or whether it's your employee, you have to fire them, whatever it is, you're stressed about it. So do the deep breathing. Maybe it's a conversation you're going to have with your spouse, or you're a teenager, or you are very stressed about like a presentation. Just start doing the deep breathing, and this totally puts your body, you know how you have that fight or flight? You can have the opposite reaction, where you're just actually becoming more and more relaxed, and it's done, and it's kind of set into motion with the deep breathing. Then second is controlling your self-talk, because if you're saying to yourself, you wake up and it's like, oh my God, we're all gonna die, my family's gonna die, and I'm gonna lose all my money, and we're gonna go bankrupt, and we're gonna be in the streets. Okay, who is not gonna go into panic mode, right? Your mind is a garden. Think of your mind as a garden, and your thoughts are the seeds. You can either grow flowers or you can grow weeds. Okay, so and that rhymes. I'll say it again. Your mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. So what are you going to grow, right? So you have a choice what you focus on. You have a choice what you are nourishing within yourself. And if you are nourishing those panic, the panic mode, the fearful thoughts, then that is exactly what's going to keep growing, okay? And you got to realize that negative self-talk is like a wild horse, and it has to be tamed. You have to control where your thoughts go. You can't say, well, it just happens to me. I don't know. I have no control. It just comes and it's automatic. No, I train people every single day how to control their thoughts. And when they learn how to control their thoughts, guess what? They gain mastery over themselves. They gain mastery over their emotions. They gain mastery over their relationship, because they're no longer a victim. Because if you have the victim mentality, okay, this is where it's problematic. When you have a victim mentality and you think, that's it, I'm doomed, it's over, and if you have that mindset, then you literally tell your brain to shut down, that you are surrendering. It's kind of like surrendering to the enemy. Would you ever go to the enemy and just say, here, handcuff me, I'm yours? No way, right? So you can't do that. You can't do that with your thoughts either. All right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, it said that Allah said, okay, so this is Hadith Qudsi, I treat my servant as how he thinks of me, okay? Although this is a Hadith Bukhari and Muslim, where I treat my servant as how he thinks of me. So in other words, Allah Ta'ala treats his servant in the way that we think of Allah. So if we see him as being the most merciful, the most compassionate, the most wise, and we have husn al-dhan to Allah. Husn al-dhan of Allah is that we think the best of him. We're not just like fearful that he's just going to punish us and we're just going to go through hardship for no reason. And when you have that positive outlook and you see him in the best, and that is how he will be towards you. So we're encouraged to have the positive thoughts and we are rewarded by Allah, right? And it's amazing. I always am amazed by the amount of psychology that is intertwined in Islam, and it's ingrained in Islam, because if you have a thought, let's say you have a positive thought, you want to, like, Ya Allah, I wish I could build a hospital. Ya Allah, I wish I could build a mosque. I wish I could feed these poor people. I wish I could do this. And you have this beautiful positive thought. You are rewarded. You are rewarded for it, even if you don't do it. So what is that doing? That is Allah telling us that you are rewarded by having positive thoughts, right? And so that's remarkable, how we are being trained to have those good thoughts. And even if you have, let's say you're planning on, you have this mischievous thought and you want to plan to do something, and you decide, you know what? No, I fear Allah. You have taqwa with Allah, and you refrain from doing that, you're rewarded for that as well. So it's just so amazing how we are encouraged to have those good thoughts, not only about what we're going to do, but we have that husn done with Allah. Okay. Now we need to, what also we can do is gain control of our imagination. Sometimes when a person is anxious, they have an overactive imagination, and it's not in a good way, right? It's more geared towards catastrophizing. So they use up all their energy. They use up the energy for what? For visualizing things, hypothetical situations. So one of the things that I tell my clients is, like, you cannot create those hypothetical situations. If you sit there and you think about, oh my gosh, what if I die from this? What if my family dies from this? What if my business, goes bankrupt? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. What we think about is going to definitely affect us, okay? So this overactive imagination needs to be tamed as well, okay? Imagination is something that needs to be used, right? But a lot of times people misuse it. We had a whole episode, a whole lesson on the power of visualization on the Mindful Hearts. And those of you who attended, you saw how phenomenal it is when you use your imagination for good, right? So just how, like, we know that it's powerful, and if you imagine yourself, let's say Olympic athletes, they imagine themselves doing a perfect performance, and how they get results exponentially higher than those who only are, let's say, practicing. Those who practice and visualize, they're exponentially better performance-wise. So as powerful as it is, it can be powerfully damaging as well. Because if you're sitting there and imagining doomsday, and imagining your death, and imagining the death of your loved ones, that is going to have an impact. That is definitely going to harm you. That is going to harm you physically. It's going to harm you emotionally. It's going to harm you psychologically. So you got to stop this catastrophizing, because if you don't, then it is going to take over. It is going to rule your heart, your thoughts, and your mind. Okay? All right. Now, we know, okay, that there's been so many studies done that the brain cannot distinguish between what is real and what is not real, okay? It doesn't distinguish. Like, if right now I tell you to imagine a lemon, imagine a juicy yellow lemon that you cut into and you bite into and you squeeze into, what's going to happen? You're salivating, right? Because your brain is thinking about it, and guess what? As soon as it starts thinking about it, it gets the physiological reactions. When you get the physiological reactions, it's real. It's real in your brain. It's categorized as real. That's why when you're, let's say, imagining yourself doing a perfect performance, shooting the basketball into the hoop, or making a goal, you're imagining it, it is actually counted as practice. Okay. Now, the same thing, if you're sitting there and imagining all of these horrible things, guess what? It is counted as like life experiences. Your body is going to have the same damage as if you went through it. And, I always use the example, let's say, like, we have this cup. That's cute. Sister Abir is saying, I made lemon cake and thought of you. And Sister Nadia is saying, love the lemon analogy. Alhamdulillah. And Sister Nadia is saying, psychology and Islam are a perfect match. And Sister Haleh, you demonstrate that beautifully, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. So let's say you have this cup, okay? Let's say you're given this amount of energy each day. Okay, you're given this energy, and as you think about these hypothetical situations, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Energy is poured out. Oh my God, my business is gonna go bankrupt. Energy is gonna be poured out, and you keep pouring it out, and it could be 9 a.m. Okay, and you are complete empty. That's what my client was telling me. That she goes, I just getting my kids out of the house. I'm done. I am depleted. Why? Because just thinking of this could happen, that could happen, this could happen, and you create so much panic for yourself. So stop catastrophizing. Stop thinking of the worst case scenario. Conserve your energy. Okay, I remember we went on Hajj, and then our Hajj leader, God bless him, he, anytime we wanted to read the Quran or, pray to Hajj, he would say, save your energy. You could read the Quran, but save your energy. So that anytime I say save your energy, I remember that. But, so you do have to save your energy, because if you use it up on hypothetical situations, where is that energy when you have a real scenario? When your child is in danger and you need to go and help them, and you're just like, I'm depleted, I have no energy. You can't do that, right? So the next thing is you need to exert some of that energy in a healthy way, in exercise. You need to have an outlet. Sitting at home, looking at your social media, being in a panic mode, isolating yourself, stocking up on toilet paper. Okay, this is not going to help you, right? You need to have some healthy habits. Right now, daylight saving, what I love about it is that after work, I get to go walk outside and release some of that tension. So go out there, walk 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, release all of this anxiety that you have within yourself, because if you don't, it's really going to affect you. Sister Ansa is saying school policy against that at the moment because the local council told them so. We have a case in a local hospital, which is 10 minutes walking distance. They caught it off someone, obviously. Some parents feel we should stop children from going to school as people just cough in the open air. Funny thing is, council member are self-isolating. Okay. Sister Abir is saying, Sister Ansa, in Saudi, where I live, all schools are closed, and it is a measure taken by the government to stop the spread of disease. I know that Harvard, actually, they're resorting to online studies. I know that our school is talking about possibly doing that. It's going to vary from place to place depending on how many cases have been found. Okay, so dealing with the stress. We talked about dealing with the stress. You're hearing all of this, you're worried, you're anxious, rightfully so. I'm not diminishing from, how serious this is, right? However, we want to manage it. So first we have to, do the deep breathing. You have to be aware of your self-talk. You have to be aware of your imagination. Don't sit there and catastrophize. You need to get out there and do some exercise, do something that will distract you and release some of the tension, okay? And then you need to have that spiritual connection. You need to put your trust in Allah. And now, this is very different, okay, from saying, okay, if you have anxiety, that means you don't have faith in Allah. No, because there is definitely, individuals who are diagnosed with depression, anxiety, there's a chemical imbalance. It is real. It's not, they could be the most pious person. I had a client who was actually, she memorized Quran. She had gone for Fajr prayer at the masjid. So she was, she's very pious. And then I think she was just very hurt because the Imam had said, if you have faith in Allah, you would not be depressed, right? They were just a talk. Now, he meant well, right? I think it's, we have to also put things into perspective. But unfortunately, she took it and she came to my office. She was crying. She was like, I'm praying at the masjid at Fajr. I remember, I have faith, but I also have depression, or I also have bipolar. I also have anxiety, right? Now, this is a very different concept. What I'm saying is that there's definitely an element of the spiritual connection. When we have a spiritual connection, and they've done so many studies on it, that those individuals who have faith in a higher being, and they have that the rituals, the prayers, and all of that, they cope with anxiety so much better. They are calmer. They have that sense of peace in their life. So that's what I'm talking about, okay? So when you put your trust in Allah, right? And that is so critical, because it does give you so much peace. And you say, الَّذِينَ قَالَ لَهُمُ النَّاسُ إِنَّ النَّاسَ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَاخْشَوْهُمْ فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. Those whom the hypocrites said, indeed, the people have gathered against you, so fear them. But it merely increased them in faith. And they said, sufficient for us is Allah, and He is the best disposer of affairs. So instead of being fearful, like sometimes it could be fearful of the enemy. Now the enemy is the coronavirus, right? So this is what people are fearful about. But we can say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. We know that Allah is the planner. He is the master planner, and we have to have our trust in Him, and we have to realize that things are going to unfold as He pleases, right? And when we see Allah, when we depend on Him, when we leave our affairs to Him, when we trust Him, and we are pleased with His decree, and we are thinking of Him in a favorable way, and we patiently wait for His help, what happens is that you reap some of the most beautiful fruits of faith. And what you demonstrate is the character of a believer, right? As a believer, we need to have faith in Allah. As a believer, we have to have that sense of we have to have that sense of optimism, not just feeling like, oh, nothing's going to happen, but we know that whatever is happening is for the best, right? Allah would not have this happen. It would not have, no one would be infected if He had not planned for it. And we have to recognize, if we know the names and attributes of Allah, that He is Al-Hakim, that He is Al-Wadud, that He is, He is the most wise, and He is the most loving, that this is not done out of a way of, it is not just happening. It is not coincidence, right? It could be a wake-up call. It could be a form of mercy. Many people are turning to Allah. Many people are trying to have that reconnection and praying out of fear. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with turning to Allah in a state of fear and panic. Many times when people are, let's say, on a plane and it's about to crash, and you find that people are calling out to God, there's nothing wrong with that aspect. The problem arises when, as soon as you are saved, you forget about Allah, and as soon as you are in safety, that's when you forget about Allah. And we need to recognize that Allah is sufficient for us. And if you think about the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was catapulted into the fire, imagine the fire that they had made for him was so big for Abraham, and they were trying to punish him because he had gone against their belief system, and he had gone against their idols, and they are catapulting him into the fire midway as he's in the air. Jibril comes to him and says, is there anything that you need? And this always gets me emotional, because imagine you're like being thrown in a fire, and sometimes we can't even handle the smallest test. We can't handle the smallest ups and downs in our lives, and yet he saw himself like he was about to be burned to death, is what he saw. And the most powerful angel came to him and said, what do you need from me? Or what can I do for you? And he said, there's nothing that I need from you. His whole trust, his whole conviction was with Allah. And so you see that at that moment, then Allah said, make the fire cool and comfortable for Ibrahim. And so he was thrown in the fire, and yet he was not affected by it, right? And that's just amazing. So even if we are surrounded by the coronavirus, but we have that tawakkul, we have that trust, we know that Allah will only allow things to happen because it is the best for us, then we need to be able to have that trust and really, like, hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, have that. And when you have that in your heart and you truly believe in it, that is what is going to, these are the tears. That is what's really going to is going to give us that serenity, inshallah. And and we all know this verse, وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم. Sorry, let me start over. وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون. So that is saying that perhaps you hate a thing that it is good for you. Maybe you hate this coronavirus. You hate the fact that you can't travel. You hate the fact that your spring break, the plans were canceled. I'm not thrilled about the fact that my son doesn't get to go to Umrah with his senior class. The senior class trip. I mean, that's really disappointing. You may hate the fact that you're sick. You may hate the fact that you can't go outside or you're quarantined. You hate it. But Allah is saying, but it may be good for you. How is it good for you? Allahu alam. We don't know. We may not know right now. We may know a little bit later. We may never know. But there is some good in it. And perhaps you love a thing that is bad for you. You love the idea of traveling. You wanted to go to Europe. Your trip was to Italy. Your dream vacation was to Italy, and it got canceled. But the fact that you love it, it may be bad for you. Maybe you had gone there and something bad would have happened. We really need to believe that. We need to trust it, right? And when you internalize this verse, when you recognize that, there are things that you really dislike going through, right? Maybe financial hardship is hard. Maybe you're having medical condition. Maybe it's a broken elbow, right? Whatever it is, you may not like it, right? It gets in the way of your life. It slows you down. It's causing you stress. But guess what? It's good for you. It's good for you because it is teaching you a lesson. So what we need to do is ask ourselves, what is the lesson that we need to learn? What is the hikmah? What is the wisdom? How can I be a better person through this? Okay. Going into panic, going into this state of worry and isolation and just, that's not going to do anyone any good. If panic, if anxiety, if worrying was helpful, if it prevented the coronavirus, if it protected you, I'd say go ahead and do it, okay? But as I discussed in one of the lessons on the mindful heart, which was all about anxiety, because we're on phase 4, and it is all about controlling our depression, our anxiety, our stress. And I said in the lesson about anxiety, controlling our anxiety, that, what it's like is that a lot of people feel like the anxiety, they're on a treadmill and they're running on it 24/7. So they're exhausted. But what are they thinking? They think that as long as I'm on this treadmill, I'm protecting my family. Like I'm on it, and this anxiety treadmill or worry treadmill is going to protect everybody. But it's not. That's a delusion, right? That is an illusion that you think your worrying is saving anyone, that by worrying, you're actually protecting yourself. By worrying, you are preventing something. It is not doing you any good. It is actually lowering your immunity, which is going to cause you danger. It is causing you to be stressed out. It is causing you to ruin your relationship, because when someone is stressed, they're going to be irritable. They're going to snap at you. They're going to have a fight with you. So it's not doing you any good. So when you recognize that, then you're going to be like, you know what? the treadmill that I'm on, the worry treadmill, which I think I'm saving everybody's lives by worrying. You're wrong. Okay? Get off that worry treadmill. Get on the tawakkul treadmill. All right? Tawakkul treadmill. And you put that trust and you believe that whatever is happening is for the best. And it's about accepting the qadr of Allah, right? There are some people, I remember when there was a hurricane in Houston, some people, actually like the whole city, they were in their cars, they were trying to run away from, they're like, oh my God, we can't die here. We're going to go. And they were on the road for maybe 10, 12, 13 hours. Some people ran out of gas. It was a tragedy. And there was a Muslim family that tried to run away from the hurricane so they don't die in the hurricane. Guess what? They got in a car crash. The whole family died. Right? How many incidents do we hear like this? There are individuals that they were in Syria. They survived the bombing. They survived the attacks, the snipers. They survived coming across borders. And then they came here to the United States thinking that they are safe, and their apartment caught on fire and they died. Okay? So your destiny, right? It has been written. It is determined, and you can't run away from it. And this is very important for us to be aware of. You cannot run away from your death. If it's written for you, it will happen. I can tell you the example of I was skiing it was in December, and there was a slope. I refused to go down because it was an expert level. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be injured. This was just a few months ago. I don't want to be injured, right? I was feeling a sense of responsibility. I have to take care of my family. I got to go to work. I have people counting on me. I don't want to injure myself, right? It happened in my own kitchen. That's where I fell. So it's destined. It is destined for us. We can't run away from our destiny. And the fact that you can accept this and you're not feeling like, I gotta run, let me hide. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. It is happening. And it's not this, I don't want you to feel helpless or hopeless. It's just this matter of realization, right? And that way you feel like, you know what? I'm at peace. I'm at peace because I know whatever's happening is happening for the best. And if we think about it, I want you to really have calming self-talk, going back to the self-talk, right? And just say things like, I'm safe, everything is going to be fine, inshallah. And you can say, I will get through this, we will get through this, this will soon pass. We've had pandemics before, and sometimes as soon as it comes, as quickly as it comes, it goes as quickly. Now, we're not sure about this. I'm not giving you false claims that it will quickly pass. But what I'm saying is that things have a way of coming and going, and it is a wave, and it might be a bigger wave that we have to ride out, but it doesn't help to panic. Okay. All right, and then if we look at some of the leading causes of death, annually, heart disease, 640,000 people die of heart disease. Cancer, almost 600,000 people, 599,000. Accidents, 169,000, right? There's, stroke, 146,000. Alzheimer, 121,000. Diabetes, 83,000. Now, influenza, there's over 55,000 cases, right? So the thing is that we really have to put things into perspective, and we can't ignore the probabilities, right? Because when you think about it, sometimes when you're hearing the cases of, okay, this many people were infected, this many people died, right? The probability, so I'll give you an example. So this was in one of the articles. I was saying, for example, in March, this was written March 3rd, there were 80,000 cases of coronavirus in China, okay? Now, and 2,945 deaths, right? Now, every death is a tragedy, absolutely. We don't want to belittle anyone's life, and, but we just have to put it into context, because the population of China is 1,480,000, right? And it's rising every minute. Now, the probability as of today of dying from the coronavirus in China is 0.001%. 0.0000199, right? So it's just, we really have to just keep it into perspective. And, we don't want to dismiss the risk. Okay, we don't want to dismiss the risk or the fear, but there is a difference between having rational fear and irrational fear. We don't want to lose control. We don't want to overreact. Obviously, we want to practice good hygiene. We want to wash our hands. We don't want to touch our face. We don't want to go into unnecessarily, highly populated places. If you can avoid going places, it's better for you. Okay. And Sister Romana is saying giving sadaqah protects us from harm. It does. And I think that's a beautiful thing we can do spiritually. Get up and pray for tahajjud. Pray that Allah protects you, protects your family, protects everyone who is infected. Maybe this is a wake-up call for us. Maybe it's a spiritual wake-up call where, subhanAllah, Allah has presented something that is complete. It is invisible to the naked eye, right? We can't even see it. And yet the entire world is affected in one way or another. And this is showing the power of Allah, the qudra of Allah, right? And when we recognize this, and then we can only, all we can do is turn to Him. Do your adhkar, do your morning adhkar, and ask Allah for the protection. And within the dua of the adhkar, you are asking for protection from all of these, from any kind of evil, from any kind of illness and sickness, and any kind of stress and sadness, right? So we really need to protect ourselves with the prayers and turning to Allah, and look at it. Definitely look at it as kind of a wake-up call, a spiritual wake-up call, right? And what happens is that sometimes the more scared you are, the scarier things become, right? And there's a process called potentiation, okay? Potentiation, sorry. Your fear response is amplified if you're already in a state of fear. So let's say you're already scared, and then it becomes even scarier, right? So we need to manage that. We need to protect ourselves from becoming immobilized or feeling so stressed out. And fear, responding in a state of fear, what actually happens in the brain, the amygdala is where fear response occurs. And at that point, it is making a decision whether something is a threat or is not a threat. If it is a threat, what's very interesting, let's say something is chasing you, and it is triggered as or it's classified as a threat. It doesn't want the rest of the brain to be calculating things and working things out. It's just about, okay, it's a threat, run. So other parts of your brain shut down. They actually shut down, and all that is activating is that fight, flight, or freeze. And that's why a lot of times people act very irrationally. This is why the panic, right? The panic buying, because they're not being rational anymore, right? They're not being the part of their brain that the prefrontal cortex is shut down, where you make rational decisions. That's not working. And that's why a lot of times you're told not to make decisions in a state of fear, because you're not using your full capacity, your brain power. Those areas of the brain are shut down. And that's why when you're in that state of anxiety or fear, let's say you're having a fight with your spouse, those parts of your brain are shut down. And that's why people act so irrationally. That's why they get physical. That's why they say awful things to each other. And now with the panic buying, parts of the brain are shut down. They're not thinking clearly. It's all about, oh my God, I need to survive. And so that's why they go into this panic mode, and they buy, and they're trying, and it gives them that sense of control, because a pandemic really, it causes fear of the unknown, right? It's the fear of the unknown. What's going to happen? How am I going to be affected? Am I going to die? So a lot of issues are coming up for people, And that it's kind of like that retail therapy, but to the max, where they feel like, okay, a lot of times with retail therapy, people are like, okay, they're going and they're buying and shopping to just feel good. This is more out of like survival. They feel, I'm out of control. I don't know when it's going to hit. So I'm going to stock up to gain control. And that's why you have shelves that, in the shopping centers are just completely empty. I am not promoting that. I think it's actually causing more of a panic as people are seeing this. It's dictating to others. It's like, oh my God, other people are doing it, I need to do it. And it just becomes it has a domino effect on the community. So you need to just remain rational, not operate from the place of fear. You operate from a logical perspective where you have you have that trust. You have that trust in Allah, and you know that you are going to you're going to get through this, inshallah. And there's nothing to, you're not going to help anyone. You're not going to help yourself. You're not going to help your family by being in a panic mode. And what's happening is that a lot of parents are going into panic mode. And guess who's watching, observing, and learning? The children. So the children are watching their parents freak out. They're, hearing all this conversation. They're not demonstrating, the parents are not demonstrating the tawakkul. They're not demonstrating maturity. They are not demonstrating anything but complete loss of control. And guess what? Those little kids are watching, observing, and they are going to be more prone to developing anxiety. And many months later, they might all of a sudden start having those panic attacks and anxiety or depression because there's just too much stress. So as parents, we have a responsibility not to overreact. We have a responsibility to act in a very rational and responsible way because they are watching us, and we are teaching them how to react in a panic situation. When we came, we were living in Egypt and we came here for a summer vacation. I had my son in a very intensive 6-week summer camp where we came, and then there was a military coup, and we didn't go back to Egypt. So we had to stay, and all we had were our suitcases. We didn't pack up the house. We didn't say goodbye to our friends. The kids didn't get to say goodbye. It was a kind of a spur of the moment. Now, they observed how we handled the situation, and our response was, "Qaddar Allah ma sha fa'al." This is what Allah plans. This must be good for us. We need to go with the flow. We need to be calm. We need to be in control. We kept it together, mashallah, tabarakallah. And they learned to have the same response. They learned that, what? And so now if something happens, and I remember there was a trip, I think my son and I were going to Singapore for a conference, and we missed the flight. And his first reaction, and he was so excited about it. He had planned an itinerary, and it was just a very exciting trip for him. And when that happened, his first reaction was like, "Mom, you don't know what." It was probably for the best. Maybe something was going to happen that was going to go wrong. And alhamdulillah, and it was just like this idea of learning from observing that this is how you deal with a crisis. And if we're not demonstrating that, then our children, they're going to learn our negative, destructive patterns, and they're going to just act it out. And then we're going to be in a bigger mess, because then we're just like, oh my gosh, now my kid has anxiety, now they have depression. Why? Because we didn't really demonstrate the right behavior, right? So some of the things that you can do, get your information. Like I said, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, that's a very reliable source. Develop an action plan. Talk about, to your kids what they can do, how to be safer. Feel that you are taking some, you are proactive. Then limit the amount of media consumption. You know, when you see case after case after case, it is going to really affect you. And then avoid the herd mentality. That herd mentality is like, oh my gosh, you know, don't jump on the bandwagon. Oh, everybody's buying toilet paper, I gotta go buy toilet paper. I mean, you know, be rational. You're a rational human being and with sound mind, and you know, use it and don't just have that herd mentality. And you have to practice some self-care. I had a whole lesson on self-care that was one of the favorites of the sisters on the Mindful Heart. And it's about, you know, self-care. It's about, you know, how do you, if you are in a good state of mind, if you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your body, you're eating good and all of that, then you're going to be less prone to getting this illness, right? And just be aware of, if you have mental health conditions and you feel like it's gotten worse, and these tips are, you know, maybe are not getting you over that hump, maybe you need to see a mental health professional, talk it over. You know, I have a lot of clients that are dealing with the anxiety, and with just a few sessions, like 4 or 5 sessions. I know that some therapists will keep their clients for years, but I'm very much into like providing quick solutions that last. And within 4 or 5 sessions, they go from complete anxiety, being limited, being constrained, to, mashallah, tabarakallah, new lease on life. So, you know, don't deprive yourself. Seek the help, invest in yourself, and be aware of the rumination and isolation. This rumination of just, you know, repeating to yourself, it's doomsday and this going to happen, or isolating yourself. That's not going to be healthy, right? And I think that it is, as long as we take precaution, as long as we are being, we're being smart, right? We're being smart. We're not going to go and, you know, we're just don't go into like really huge public places where you may be infected. You know, wash your hands, be diligent, have tawakkul ala Allah. And, you know, the hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I'm going to summarize it because I don't have it handy on me right now, but it is really about, let me see if I can get that hadith. It is about knowing that whatever is written for you, whatever is written is, let me see. Okay. 1 second. All right, here it is. Okay. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ entered the mosque one day while a man from the Ansar named Abu Umayma was there. The Prophet said, "Oh, Abu Umayma, what is the matter that I see you sitting in the mosque while it is not time for prayer?" He said, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, I am compelled by anxiety and debts." The Prophet ﷺ, "Should I not teach you a word to say by which Allah Almighty will relieve your worry and complete your debt?" He said, "Of course, O Messenger of Allah." The Prophet ﷺ said, "Say in the morning and in the evening, O Allah, I seek refuge in you from worry and sadness. I seek refuge in you from weakness and laziness. And I seek refuge in you from cowardice and miserliness. And I seek refuge in you from being overwhelmed by debt and tyranny of men." Okay, so that one is really a beautiful dua that we can make. And that's what I was telling you as far as, you know, as far as the, as far as, you know, the morning and evening adhkar, there's also that, you know, just knowing that your destiny has been, it's been written, the inks, you know, has been dried, it's all written out, and not to stress over it. No one, if the whole world was to come you and plot against you, if Allah does not will for that to happen, it's not going to happen. And if the whole world was going to come and do something for you and to help you, and Allah doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. And so this gives us 2 things. One is that we put all our trust in Allah. It's not the people. It's not the people. It's not just your connection. It is about your connection with Allah that will ultimately save us, right? And then the next thing is not to just have needless fear and panic, right? Because you trust that everything is happening, you know, for a reason, and won't happen unless Allah wills for it to happen. So now I want to just share with you, for those of you who are new, those of you who just came on, and to hear about the coronavirus. I'm so glad that you did. I pray that it was beneficial. I want to share a little bit about the Mindful Hearts to you and see what you can benefit from this community, because it's a phenomenal community. You can join in, right? It is, I do live lessons, and it's about, how to be the best version of yourself. It's about, whether it's mentally, right? Your thoughts, how to overcome stress, anxiety, how to think about things in a positive way, how to achieve your goals, how to have emotional intelligence, how to have people like you. Like, there are all of these things. And, some people may not know how it works. It's a subscription. It's like $10 a month, and you can get on, or $100 a year, and you become a member. And what happens is that, this is a beautiful community, and you can join in at any time, because these live lessons are all recorded and you can watch at your own pace. So some people may say, oh, I'm busy at work, I can't join in the live lesson. They're all there. You can learn from the beautiful information. And I would love for the sisters who are here to just share. Maybe, you can share what the Mindful Heart has been for you, so that they can learn from it. We have a private Facebook page, and it's a little utopia. Sisters, I think you agree, Sister Nadia, Sister Romana. We have some of the volunteers here. Sister Sabina, we welcome. And we are a beautiful sisterhood, and it is a little utopia, and you can't find it anywhere else, because everyone is very supportive. There's only positivity, there's only encouragement, dua, and it is what true sisterhood should be, right? And we don't always experience that in our communities, unfortunately, but here in the Mindful Heart community, you do experience it. So if you want to work on yourself, if you want to improve the way you think, if you improve the way you behave, and become a better version of yourself, you can join in. It's not too late. You're not going to miss out. It's all recorded. You can, watch it at your own pace. And we have these amazing group of, volunteers who write out notes. And, so we have Sister Nadia saying it's a beautiful, supportive sisterhood, mashallah. Sister Romana is saying this community is very uplifting and will always make you feel wonderful. Anyone who has whenever the sisters are having a bad day, they're like, all I do is I just go on the Facebook page, and I read the stories, and I get inspired, or people they share what they're going through. And everyone gives support. Everyone's making dua for them, and they're like encouraging. Sister Ansa saying, Mindful Heart has been transformational for me, taught me to love myself, others, and life, and most importantly, Allah. Oh, alhamdulillah, Sister Ansa. I'm so glad. These are testimonies from sisters who have been on this and who have benefited. And so really right now, it's not just like a launch, like, it's really about reporting the results, right? Reporting the results of this amazing community full of information. Sister Nadia says, Sister Haleh's sessions are amazing, mashallah, very professional and informative. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. And Sister Romana saying, the Mindful Heart is a wonderful group to join if you want to change your life in a positive way. We inspire, motivate, and support each other on your personal development journey. Oh, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, sisters, for sharing, because it's great to hear from the sisters who are, they've gone through it, because I can sit there and talk about it, but when you hear from the ones who have gone through it, it's a totally different thing. Sister Sabina is saying, welcome new sister members, non-members. Mindful Heart has changed my life completely. I have learned to manage my anxieties, and I have learned ways to cope with low days. Alhamdulillah, love it, worth it. I love me. Great, Sister Sabina. Thank you, Sister Abir. I am new here, and I feel it's a great sisterhood. I can fall back on the Facebook page when I really need the love. That's so great. And the Thursday sessions are not short of therapy, alhamdulillah. Well, I'm so glad that it's been providing you with that support, the inspiration. If you want to just try it out for a month, themindfulhearts.com. Sister Romana, or one of you, if you could write the link to the group. And we don't want to hug it, right? We want to share. We want more people to experience this beautiful sisterhood. We want more sisters to feel at peace, to love themselves, to have a better outlook on life. So if you could put that link there, and those of you, if you have any questions, we have another like few minutes. Members, non-members. If any of you are, non-members and you have any questions about the group, please go ahead and ask, and I would be happy to answer your question. Oh, that's so sweet. Sister Nadia is saying, I will add that Sister Haleh is extremely genuine, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. Sister Romana is saying, Assalamu alaikum. Sister Sabina, so good to see you here. Yeah, there's really this beautiful connection. And this is probably one of the most fulfilling things I've done in my life. Really, I love all the sisters in the Mindful Heart. I really feel it's kind of like, the halaqas I used to have in Egypt on steroids. It's global, but the love is there, the connection, the mashallah, tabarakallah. It is really phenomenal. So let me know if you have any questions regarding whether it's about the talk, whether it's about the Mindful Heart, and I will be so happy to answer, because I have maybe about 6 more minutes of this. And but really, I just want all of you to kind of put your mind at ease. I did decide to do this kind of last minute, because I felt like a lot of sisters on the Mindful Hearts were asking questions about it, and I felt instead of doing my regular talk, which usually we have a PowerPoint, and it's very it is very different, our regular talks, and the sisters can tell you about that. But the thing is that I felt this needed to be addressed, and just to put everyone's minds at ease. So let me know, if there is, if any of you are a little bit like more overwhelmed, or you feel like you're demotivated, or you feel less connected, try to make more du'as. And if that is not enough to get you over the hump, try to seek some professional help. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to be miserable, right? So it's Sister Nagma, assalamu alaikum. She's saying it's a beautiful journey. So she's saying the Mindful Heart is a beautiful journey where you get to learn a lot of critical things needed to have a mindful heart. Be positive and optimistic about life, and above all, have tawakkul and be mindful of Allah. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair, Sister Haleh. Jazakallah khair to all of you beautiful sisters for joining in, for sharing your experiences. And here Sister Romana is putting the link. You can join the Mindful Hearts by going to, Sister Romana, it is themindfulhearts.com. So if you could correct that, please. So it's www.themindfulhearts.com. And Sister Nadia says, Sister Haleh, this was very nice of you to open this up to non-members. Jazakallah khair. I knew that this is just something that everyone is experiencing, and I didn't want to just keep it for our group. I felt I want to just, contribute to the community at large. And Sister Romana is saying, Sister Naza is saying, I love you all, my sisters. We love you too, Sister Naza. Sister Romana is saying, love you, Sister Haleh. Thank you so much for everything you do. Alhamdulillah, love you too, Sister Romana, and all of you sisters. It is, like I said, it is a really beautiful community, and it makes such a difference when you go through this journey of self-development, self-change. You do it with a group of sisters. Like we're gonna hold your hands. We're gonna hold your hands through this, and you're going to feel supported every step of the way. And so that's what makes it really exciting. It's not just a course you take on your own and then you get a whole bunch of information now what do I do, right? It is step-by-step guidance. So I really hope that you give it a try just for a month. Try it out and see see what you can benefit from, inshallah. So jazakallah khair for all of you. And then Sister Nadia is saying, yes, join us on the private Facebook page. Definitely. Once you become a member, then you can join the private Facebook page. And that's where, there's a lot of sharing. And mashallah, because it's private, you will see some really raw and some really amazing testimonies and what people are going through. And I love seeing the sisterhood. So jazakallah khair. Sister Nagma is saying, Sister Nadia is saying, I do feel very supported by everyone here. Oh, alhamdulillah. And you're very supportive, Sister Nadia, to everyone. Sister Nagma is saying, yes, the panic is real and we really needed this. Jazakallah khair, Sister Haleh. I'm so glad that how do you feel now after? Give me like a before and after. Before this lecture, how are you feeling about the coronavirus and how are you feeling now? How effective was this? Sister Haleh, please, can we have the link for the 1 month membership? Can we have that, Abu Majid? The link for the 1 month membership?
What's the 1 month gift?
Yes, the 1 month, the 1 month membership. We will try to put that here. So, Sister Soleh, can I join the group? Absolutely, Sister Soleh. You can become a member. You just go to the Mindful Hearts with an S, themindfulhearts.com. Okay, Sister Abir is saying she's alhamdulillah, feeling better. Sister Romana is saying, alhamdulillah, feels super good. Sister Sabina saying the PowerPoints are so good. I'm always taking notes. I know the PowerPoints, and that's what we do. Usually I'm on the side, I'm talking, and then the PowerPoints are there. This was it was last minute, and I just wanted to address it because it was very critical and crucial, and just wanted to talk to you like we do, like the Q&A session. So inshallah you benefited. Sister Nadia is saying, I feel really happy after every session, including right now. Alhamdulillah. So glad that you're feeling good. Sister Abir, which PowerPoint? Every time I do the lessons for Mindful Heart, there's always a PowerPoint, right? We have, and it's, I love doing them. It's very colorful. It's very informative, and it makes it easy to follow along and get the notes. So this was not a typical Mindful Heart lesson, because usually you do have the PowerPoint, but you get like a gist of it. Sister Wajaha is saying, alhamdulillah, so much better. I wasn't worried about the virus at all. I'm going through some health issues and was freaked out. May Allah cure you completely. Sisters, let's pray for Sister Wajaha Babar. She has health issues. May Allah cure her completely and protect all of those who are more susceptible, who are maybe older or have respiratory problems, and protect all of the sisters worldwide, Ya Allah, and cure all those who are infected by it. Ya Allah, give us the cure and give us the vaccine, and help us to see this as a wake-up call, to get closer to you, to have more tawakkul, and let us be our best version, the best version of ourselves through calamities, through these tests, through the trials. Let us show our true faith, because that's what it's for, right? I mean, it is this is where our iman has to shine through. So let's see, what else are the sisters saying? We have Sister Nakma, alhamdulillah, feeling better and optimistic. Sister Haleh, it was an uplifting session. I'm so glad. Sister Naza, I feel much better. Sister Nadia is saying, alhamdulillah, Sister Wajaha. And Sister Sabina, I mean, when we do our sessions, we have Sister Haleh on one, Sister Haleh on the other side, and Sister Abir. What? Oh, okay. So I think she's explaining the fact that usually half the screen is me, half the screen is the PowerPoint. All right. Sister Nadia says, I have asthma and I feel worried on and off, but so much better today, Sister Haleh. Jazakallah khair. Wa iyaki. I'm glad that it was beneficial. May Allah protect all of you beautiful sisters, and protect your families and protect everyone worldwide. And whether it's the coronavirus, whether it's any illness, whether it's any stress or mental disorder or war or famine or whatever it is worldwide, may Allah bring the cure and help us to be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. And Sister Naza is saying that she has asthma too, and may Allah protect you, Sister Naza. Okay, we have the monthly membership with a 7-day free trial. Okay, so this is something new that we're doing. We're allowing you to try it out because we're that confident that you're going to love it, inshallah. And you are going to be addicted to the mindful hearts, inshallah. And I know many of the sisters have that, that excitement and that connection. Sister Romana is saying, may Allah allow you to have a clean bill of health soon, Sister Wajaha. Ameen, ameen, ameen. So please share this, sisters, with your friends, with your family. It is a monthly membership with a 7-day free trial. Okay, so they can come in, join, try it out, and see all that there is to learn and love, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, sisters, for joining in. And see you, inshallah. One announcement: next week is spring break for my children, so we're going to have a break next week. So enjoy, catch up on your videos. If you're behind, if you're new, go ahead and sign up, and inshallah you can watch some of the videos, get a taste for it. But next Thursday there will be no live lesson, but there are plenty of videos, right? I've lost track of how many videos, and there's lots of notes to help you along, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Salam alaikum.